All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. I am Jeremy, one of the training team members. I will be leading our call today, and I'll be able to answer any questions that we've got. So if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A, and I'd be happy to address them. We do have a couple pre-submitted questions from Marvin, so we will start with those in just a moment. But for everyone else, if you have additional questions, please again post them in the Q&A, and we'll be happy to discuss in just a few moments. And then while you guys have a chance to type that stuff in, just a couple quick little things. Check out our decision support YouTube channel, posting a lot of good things there. All of our lunch and learns get posted on that YouTube channel. So if you want to reference previous ones, or if you know you asked a question and you want to look back at the answer again, it'll usually be posted by the end of that same day. So you can see the lunch and learn for that day or for previous days, whatever that is. We also post additional content up there, training material, really good stuff. Um, useful information about, different topics within decisions. And we would also love any recommendations if there's any things that you're really interested in that we can consider putting up as well. We also have the Solutions Marketplace, great place to check out applications and test out some things if maybe get some inspiration for your projects, or maybe it's something that you actually plan on using. You want to kind of see how it works. A lot of great things that you can download and import into your decisions instance there as well. All right, so we are going to start with the questions that I have from Marvin today. So I will give you the opportunity to talk as well, Marvin, so you can kind of uh, further explain. Oh, I see Jared posted in the chat, like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Definitely do that as well. All right, so Marvin had a couple questions, so I'm gonna read all of them, and then we'll start to answer some of them. I think a couple of the answers are going to be pretty simple, but we can talk about them as needed. So first question is, can the collapse and expand button? Oh, sorry, all of these are in relation to header containers in forms. So while we'll talk about that, I'll kind of create a header container form just to demonstrate this. So first question is, can the collapse and expand button be dynamically changed? And so for those that aren't familiar, if you have a header container that you want to place into your form, there's an option on the bottom to make this header container collapsible, which is a pretty cool setting. So it'll actually add a little collapsible option here. So anything that I have inside it, I can collapse inside. And there's an option that lets me to choose whether once that form is opened, if it's initially collapsed or not. So then if I click it, it'll collapse or not collapse. And you can choose that. The nice simple answer right out the gate here is this is not dynamic. There is no way to make it dynamic. I did some testing just to confirm, but even in like setting up an active form flow, header containers, that option of it being collapsible or not is not within active form flows. So it's not something that we can just, easily change, other than maybe some kind of, like JavaScript custom thing, may be doable from there. But yeah, but initially, just like with decisions, naturally, no, that cannot be
That's what I
dynamic.
suspected.
Yep. Second question was, can the size be dynamically changed? And so for this one, there's a couple things that we can kind of talk about here. The main thing being you do kind of have it depends on, I guess, what you mean by dynamic. In some ways, you do have the settings that you have within a form for like the columns and the rows sizing and everything. Setting the expected size for those things, whether or not it's changeable
Mainly
or not.
referring to the size and tabs.
Yep. Yeah.
It's
And so you can do some emphasis on some manipulation just by setting like on the surface container where your header container is going to be placed, like expected sizes, minimum, maximum sizes. You can change whether it's resizable, whether it's like completely fixed, so then it's static and it will not change those sizes. And then you can also have grow, which means it can increase in size, but it can't decrease in size. So the requested size will be a minimum. It will not get smaller than that requested size. But so all of these are on like the surface container level of where this header container is placed. Those can be manipulated easily. Um, on the other side of things, though, with the size and tabs settings, um, I did do a little bit right before this trying to mess around with, changing these. And as far as I could tell, um, nothing in here, and I'd have to confirm with like a core dev to check and let me know for sure like what exactly this is meant to affect and if it's even working properly. But anything I changed here when I was messing around with this, setting the initial weight and height, width and height, setting maximum, setting minimums, didn't seem to actually affect anything, even if I made something like ridiculously small for like the minimum or anything, even if I set the
I've been
main to be
able
big.
to, I've been able to adjust the height accordingly. I haven't had to change the width, but the height, because I've got several, and depending on if some data has been hidden or not, depending on other options, because it's
Hmm.
dynamic, I've been able to at least somehow at least get a set size of the header container.
Hmm.
I haven't been able to use the max or min values at all.
Right. And that's what I was trying to do some testing with that, and I haven't got it to. I also have not been able to get it to change anything other than stuff that's affected by the Surface container
Right.
in exactly the way I was changing. So that's like I said, I'd have to confirm and make sure if there's like something that I'm missing about how exactly that works. But again, that's also only setting these numbers here, not necessarily being able to change those dynamically in any way.
Well,
Um, so
that would be
yeah,
the ultimate goal, but yes.
right.
I
And
have
so that's
options, but I figured I'd ask just in case.
yeah, the I think my conclusion and a couple of I think people on our side kind of confirmed with me here as well. They're kind of thinking the same thing as you're more than likely if you really want to get something working with that, some kind of Java custom JavaScript
Okay.
and like CSS like
Right.
combination stuff like that is going to be useful there.
Not
Um,
at this point, but thank you.
mhm. All right. All right, we got a couple questions in the Q&A now. So we can go ahead and start talking about some of those. All right. First question I have uh, mm, is this is from anonymous. So if you want to speak up, you'll have to raise your hand or something so I know who to allow to talk. But I'll read the question first. Is there a way to change the color on the title bar in a form? For example, you can go into a flow, click on the show form step, and check the hide title bar, and it gets rid of it. But if I want to change it from blue to a different color. So let me just confirm. I'm assuming this is referring to if I just throw a form in a flow. Come on, decision. Go. If I have a form, I'm just going to pick some random form I have. I'll do the header container one that I just made. If I have a form and I run it, I'm assuming we're referring to this title bar up here, right? This run form title bar. Um, and so I don't think you can just change it on this. I believe this is a setting that you'll make. Um, you can change the background color. I don't think it's that. That's not the thing. Um, that's just going to be something else. Yeah. I believe if you want to make any changes to a lot of those kinds of areas, the biggest thing you're going to find is the theme editor. So the theme editor is going to display a lot of your like the different items and objects in decisions. It includes colors of things. It includes a lot of the like base icons for different items. And so you can kind of see a lot of these like areas here. The portal header, the portal header being that like deep blue color. If you want to change the page background and stuff like that, and all the hex codes and everything are in here, so you can manipulate these to display or change whatever colors you want. So I believe that one that you're referring to is going to be coming from this theme editor. So if I change that, I don't know if that's the same as the portal header. It might be, but like if I change the my color here and I want to apply something, I can apply my changes and it'll actually adjust, my whole decisions instance with the themes and things that I'm changing. So again, there's a lot of things I can change. I can switch out images for various like icons if I want certain icons to be changed by default um, to look like certain things. This is where I get, like at the top I have my decisions and my logo up here. But this is where a lot of people can utilize this to put, your own company logo and different things like that. So you can manipulate a lot of the different things and decisions to kind of display things in different ways. Um, and it
There's
just
a
kind of
form
comes
category
a little bit
too.
with exploring it. Is there a form? Oh yeah, there is a form category. Look at that. So it's likely one of those. Of course, it's going to take a long time to uh, do this. The decisions tends to like to do this on me when I'm sharing my screen on Zoom. Um, but yeah, it's more than likely one of those. If it's not portal header, because portal header I think might just change that one. This up here where it says decisions, but it might be under form or something similar, where we can get those changes made. Loaded it. I got a form. There's maybe some things in here too. Looks like maybe more just some stuff within forms. That might even just be the case. But yeah, so I could sit here and kind of look through this. We've got a bunch of other questions. I don't want to necessarily, spend all the time going through all of these. But yeah, hopefully that at least gives you something to explore and maybe kind of explore through that theme editor, find the right section. I don't know off the top of my head exactly what that correct item is, but it's definitely, one of those kind of main things to search for. And you can easily find a lot of great changes in there. And there's a lot of other things you can, mess with changing and adjusting to. So if you have something that you really want to focus on, if you use a lot of horizontal timelines, these are the kind of natural colors, but if you want to change what those are, you can easily do that. So a lot of great things in there to mess with. And it looks like, yeah, oh, that's awesome. Thank you for showing me. Wonder if that was a setting. Yeah. So hopefully that's good enough for now. If you have further questions, feel free to add one in the chat and we can come back to it. But I'll move on to another question for now. Okay. The next question I have is from Joe. Oh, okay. Joe's question: is there a way to run a scheduled job as another user? I have a local install and I log into the server as my username to develop on the platform. However, the executable I'm trying to launch has to be run as a different user. Is there a way to do this without entering the username and password in the back file? So, Joe, are you referring to like this, just when you're creating a scheduled job like this?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Like hopefully you can put the credentials in the platform rather than in the batch file. I was hoping to see like, run as different user right there, and then you'd be able to put the credentials in.
No, I don't think there is anything specific about setting the user this is running.
By default, the user that's used in scheduled jobs is
It's
just the
gonna be a
system
system, right?
user.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
just
what
the
I was thinking.
system
It'd be a
user.
system. So it isn't even technically running as like your account
Right,
when
yeah.
because
So
it
it
runs in
runs
the back
everything
end.
as system.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it'll run it through the system account. So it'll have all the details that this account has. And I don't think there's a place that can be. I think just like normally changed, when you set up a scheduled job, but you can't just adjust that normally.
So, I mean, I really hate to put the username and a password in a batch file. That goes against every security policy that we have here. So are you telling me there's no way to impersonate another user as the thing runs? I mean, I was thinking of logging in as the user that I need, but like you said, it doesn't matter because it's still gonna run a system.
Mhm. Yeah, another thing that comes to the top of my head where you can specify, because even if you did a name session or create something, you got to call, that as a decisions account, and it's tied to the decisions account level. Because what you're talking about is, um, running it. You want to use a decisions account to then run a scheduled job that has permissions to that file and
I
admin.
mean, the user that's trying to run the file is an Active Directory user here. And I don't think I'm integrated yet with Active Directory. Is that an option? If I was to go down that path, would I be able to choose an Active Directory user to run it as, or is it still only tied to system?
Well, then what you're in the process of doing is you're still, the problem isn't, it's the account part. And I don't think there's an easy way to say, hey, run this scheduled job as a different user. Jeremy, can you click on interval jobs? All the way on the top right.
Oh, up here. Yeah, yeah.
I'm just curious what, let's see, new 80 sync job.
Yeah.
Go ahead and just open up a flow, Jeremy. I just want to test. I want to see if there's any like steps to change, user or something. I think the problem is right. We have two separate. We have an issue where it's like we have decisions users and we have Windows users or whatever the target system's user is, right?
Right.
And that's the part where decisions I don't think has any context of what the user is. Right. And I don't think there's any way you can get that context with it where it says, okay, go to this file. Now you're in the file permissions world of accounts and decisions doesn't store that information unless it just says, hey, here's a command, run the command and whatever's inside of that command. So get groups into users. Is there any like change user, Jeremy? Like change run or
I just searched user. This is the only thing. The only stuff I see.
search for run as? Is there something in the run as? Now, is there a particular no, here's the question, Joe. All these batch files you want to run, are they all going to be running by the same service account?
They're actually executables.
Mhm.
And they all run as a particular Active Directory user on a box that you log into that box, and then obviously you just run the command and it'll do what it's supposed to do. If I copy those executables to the decisions test server and the
Yeah.
production server, you can still reference them and double click them and run them, but they're not going to do anything because you're not logged in as that user.
Right,
If
because there's file permissions on that.
Right, so if I was to log in as that user on the, that Active Directory user, we'll call it, on the test machine, then I'm in a completely different profile, if you will.
Yeah.
Um,
So they're not the same. So like I have 3 servers. These are not decision servers, just generic servers. Each have instead of one service account for all 3, I have service account 1 for server 1, service account 2 for server 2, server account 3 for server 3. Is that correct?
yeah, I
Okay,
mean,
because that's the part
in
that gets
my
harder.
situation, there's only one account that runs all these files.
Right. So Jeremy, if you go open up your services and go to the decision server service. So the reason why I asked that specific question, because this kind of bleeds in. It's not really a decisions question. It's more of like, here's the kind of folder permissions architecture, right? If you go to it, depending on how you run decisions, if you're doing a self-hosted install, there is the decision server service, and go ahead and right click that,
Mhm.
and then properties, Jeremy. What some of our customers do is, and go to log on. So right now, obviously, it's just using Jeremy's system account, right? His whatever 80 credentials that Decisions has given him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what you could do, let's say in your dev environment, let's say you have a service account that you need permissions for it to run decisions, but you also want that service account to access those files, right? Or access those batch files that you want them to run. What you can
Right,
do is you can run decisions as a service account and make sure you give that service account just permissions to the decision server folder. And then what you can do is that system. So now this is where you have to like define terms. If you could, you open a Visio diagram for me, Jeremy? It's a little, it's a little hard to like describe it there. So this is where you have to keep in mind, right? We have a system account in decisions. Or do you mind if I just share my screen? I could probably do it.
Yeah, let's just do that.
Yeah, I'll just be a little bit faster. Hold on, let me just close some of my stuff and I'll kind of illustrate this. All right, let me share my screen. And then share. Can anyone see my screen? It shows nothing right now, but it'll show Visio in
Yep.
just a moment. Okay, good. So what you could do is do a blank drawing. And so this is where it gets a little bit confusing. So in that kind of area that services that Jeremy was just showing here, right? If I go to decisions, I'll move mine over here temporarily, and I go to properties, right? Log on. I can change the system account of the service. And so what that means here is if I go to my Visio diagram, right, I have a system account, and this is decisions, right? So this is the decision system account.
correct.
Okay, right. That's the thing that runs all scheduled jobs. Now, how the system account works is it runs whatever service account it's tied to, meaning the let's see, add this one, meaning whatever the log on services, log on services is,
Right,
right? So that ties into this menu right here. So theoretically, if you have one service account that has access to all files, you can have decisions, the decision server service run as, I'm just making up, so SA account,
right.
SA Gunster or whatever, right? Just making it up.
That sounds like it would work. I mean, I don't have a problem having, there's not like I have 3 accounts that I have to worry about. There's only one account, right? So if I was to do what you're saying and change that to, it's called CMS.
I lost you for a second. Am I still audible on the call or? Okay. I think I lost you, Joe, for a second. Because if you do this, so I don't hear you, Joe. But if you do set this up to run as a service account, then theoretically, and I believe this would work, then you can have whatever that system user is when it runs that scheduled job, it should run it as that service account and still get access to those files. That would be something to test, and you just change the installation the account, instead of it being the account, the local system account, it'd be something else. So that would be the way I would suggest doing it. I don't know if this will work, but I think it will, because decisions at the end of the day is just an account running a service. And whenever decisions has to access different file directories, and anyone on the decision side can correct me if I'm wrong, it just references that Windows account that has allowed permissions for network drives, storage attached networks, and all of that stuff with that service, with that local Windows account. So you just have to be aware of that. It may be different if you're using a Postgres environment, like you have a Postgres decisions installation, then it will be different. But that's kind of how I believe that would work. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Jeremy.
All right, so I'll go back to sharing. Okay. We have that's so far that's everything. We have one more thing Marvin added on the Q&A. I don't know if it's quite a question or a statement, but you can expand on it if you'd like. I'll at least read it out loud. From an active form flow, it would be nice to be able to call a subflow that has access to form controls, especially when the parent flow gets rather long. Compartmentalization would be really nice.
My observation is that you can access your form controls within a subflow. Unless I'm doing something wrong.
You mean like if I'm, let me open a,
Sure.
you're saying within an active form flow.
You spell like I do. Now from there, be able to call a subflow, which I know you can do, but you don't have access to the form controls within that subflow.
Give me just a minute. This loads and then I can actually put something in here.
Unless there's some way maybe to pass the form data, because if you start to look at the toolbox, set control value and all of that stuff does not show up.
Oh, I see what you mean. Got it. I understand what you're talking about now. Yeah, because you can only actually access these if with a flow that has form rule behavior. It has to be some kind of form rule flow because that's where these form rules come into play. If you can change a subflow to have that behavior, then yes, that's doable. I'm not sure if you can. I've never messed with it.
You cannot. I have tried that.
Oh, you
You
have tried
cannot
it
change
before?
it to that.
Okay.
There are 58 different behaviors you can change it to, but that is not one of them. Yeah.
There's our answer right there. Yeah, so I mean, you can obviously like use your subflow to manipulate data, change data, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
If you need to, manipulate strings from the form control, change the
Right.
strings into whatever, and then output the string to place into a set control value or something. Yeah, but yeah, unfortunately, it's incredibly limited because these things are specific to form controls and specific to form controls only. So we have to have that behavior.
Well, as Jerry would say, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Can we get that as an option? Or in some fashion?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, it's definitely something if it seems useful to make sense and if it's doable on our end, obviously once people
Sure.
have a chance to look at it, yeah, definitely something worth requesting for sure.
Okay. I'm
And
done.
I mean, the other thing too is that it's kind of like easily missed or forgotten is like this is still a flow. It's just um not as obvious because I think a lot of people forget
Sure,
that if you change to folder view, you can still access this with changing the view to hidden,
right,
and you can find those,
yes,
the rule flows and everything to change and manipulate. But yeah, otherwise, at least at
yep,
the moment,
I've been
there's
there, done that.
not much not much else we can do on that just with that restriction.
Yeah, I got a active farm flow that's beginning to look like a 1980s COBOL program that just never ends.
Hmm. Right. Well, I'll give it another minute or so. I've got no more questions at the moment. Um, we can end it early, or if no one has any questions, or if anyone has anything else, feel free to last chance type it up in the chat. All right. Well, I'm not seeing anything, so I think we can go ahead and call it for the day. Thank you for we got quite a few good questions and some good conversation going today. So thank you for those asked questions. Thank you for those from my team that hopped in to assist. Much appreciated. We got a couple more this week. Um, we're getting closer and closer to the holidays, but we still have our lunch and learns going strong. So we will have Jared and Robert leading the rest of this week. If you have any questions, please feel free to send us a message ahead of time if you want to pre-submit them, or again, hop on and ask away as the lunch and learn start the rest of this week. Thank you all for watching and joining us. For those on YouTube, thank you for watching, and we will see you all next time. Have a great one, everybody.